So you want to know how I won the pitch competition and what happened and how I got through it and tips I would give to other female founders.
Yes, but let's start on pitch competition. What is a pitch competition, and why do people need to even be on the lookout for those?
Right. So a pitch competition is a public presentation of your business. It typically has slides in the backdrop. You stand in front of a big screen in front of a large audience. You click through the slides and you present what's on the slides to the audience in an engaging way. And the end result that you hope for is that someone will invest in your company or become a customer for your company. And it's important to do it in the world of venture capital and small businesses because it's really the standard and the norm of being able to present your business in like 8 minutes or less in a compelling way that grabs their attention, talks about the need in the market, and explains what you would do if you were to win the money or be awarded the prize at the end.
So what would be the difference between a pitch competition and a business loan, like from a bank?
Right. So a pitch competition will be typically in front of a panel of jury members, people who would select who wins. You'd be presenting sort of against other founders who would have the opportunity to present before you and after you. As opposed to like a business plan that you might present to a bank, that would be a document that would be standalone, that could sort of speak for itself. The beauty in a pitch competition is that you have an opportunity to present what you're explaining and tell the story and guide people through it and show them who you are and parts of your personality too.
Okay, so let's dive into the pitch competitions that you dove into. How was that? How were those? What pitch competitions did you dive into, and how were those experiences?
So I've probably won close to $250,000 in pitch competitions.
Big money.
Big money. But when I started, I didn't know what I was doing at all. So I met a person at a dinner, and they invited me to pitch for their local pitch competition in DC. And I said, okay. And they said, well, send me your deck. And I said, okay. And I had no idea what a deck was. And I had no idea what a pitch competition was. I was just a business owner who had a tech component in her company who I guess other people saw a bigger vision for me than at the time than I saw for myself and in my business. So I went online and I Googled what is a pitch competition. And I reached out and what is a deck? And I reached out to some of the other founders that I knew. And one of my good girlfriends sat me down for about an hour on Zoom. And she walked me through a pitch deck and how to put it together, how to assemble it. And this was at the time when these templates weren't easily available online, or if they were of big companies that have raised a lot of money, like an Airbnb deck you can easily find online. But it didn't relate to my small business, my startup idea, what I foresaw in the future for us. So I had to break it down slide by slide in order to get it done. And I have to tell you, Leroy, the first version was terrible. It was very ugly. Probably like the first 3 or 4 versions were pretty gnarly. They were pretty bad. But over time I got better. And then eventually in the world now, there are people who will design pitch decks for you.
What?
Yeah, you can give them the content and they will do the design. And you can also find decks and templates on Canva. I would recommend investing in like Canva Premium for, I think it's $15 a month or so.
That's how they get you.
Yeah, that's how they get you. But they have so many deck templates that will show you a perfect layout and you can just add in your content to the deck. So anywho, I made a deck and I presented at the pitch competition. Very long story short, I ended up going on to the national level, the international level, where I competed against 60 women-owned businesses, across the world. Wow. So there are people coming from all the countries. We all convened in Silicon Valley, and I won $100,000 that day. And it was huge for me and huge for our business. But what I think was sort of an edge for me was the presentation skills that I garnered as Miss DC USA.
Yeah.
And in preparing for pageants. And I think that was sort of like my secret sauce. And yeah, I'm happy to share those details with other women who are interested in pitching, because I think there was just something a little extra there that boosted my presentation.
The pitch competitions that you, well, so talk about talk about one of the pitch competitions that are coming up.
So an upcoming pitch competition that I would apply to or would recommend other people apply to. I'm not at all affiliated with them, but their pitch competition caught my eye. It's Startup 302. So it's their 2024 pitch competition that specifically focuses on founders from underrepresented backgrounds. But in this instance, it's not just people of color. It's also specifically women. And the LGBTQ community, which reflects a lot similarly to the pitch competition that I won previously, which was SoGal Pitch Competition. So this is for Delaware-owned and operated businesses or based businesses. A lot of companies that are startups are Delaware incorporated. So if you're Delaware incorporated, you do qualify. So anywho, I wanted to kind of focus on this one because I see a huge opportunity for women to lean into certain strategies that we're mentioning here on this podcast. Are we good?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Okay, so cool. So again, I'm not at all affiliated with this competition, but what I would do if I were to compete and to stand out, I want to walk you through that. Alrighty, so first things first, it's free and open for all people to apply, which is always a good thing. But to me, screams that there's going to be a lot of competition, right? So you want something that stands out. You'll have 5 to 10 minutes to pitch. I would recommend, if given between 5 and 10 minutes, that you stick to around 7 minutes maximum, because it's going to give you time to take deep breaths and not feel like you're rushing.
Not when everything is shaking.
The building is shaking, Leroy. To feel like you're not rushing. But I think if you make it to 10 minutes, sometimes you can lose your audience. So you're going to want to capture their attention pretty quickly. I think 5 minutes is going to be a bit too short. So I think the sweet spot there would be 7 to 8 minutes. And they also allow the judges to have questions following your pitch. These will typically be questions that you've heard before. If you've been in business for a while, these should not be like trick questions that you've never heard before, but you want to prepare yourself with Q&A by getting to know people, talking to them about your business and asking them, what questions would you have for me if I were to be standing on the stage in front of you? Alrighty, so let's run through where I would start. So prizes can be up to $25,000, which is absolutely fantastic, and non-dilutive funding, which I absolutely love. So I would definitely lean into a program like this. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is start with a very compelling pitch deck, obviously branded in your colors, your brand colors, and also your brand style and tone of voice. For me, with Cherry Blossom Intimates, our brand was very pop pink. This was a time where millennial pink was hot. Does anybody remember, like, millennial pink had a moment? It was like the girl boss era.
Girl boss era.
Very girl boss time.
Definitely.
So pink was the color. So our deck was very, very pink. And the presentation that I gave was also very feminine, cheeky, fun. I didn't use a lot of technical terms during the pitch. I saved those technical terms for the Q&A, so people knew that I knew what I was talking about. But we build custom breast prosthetics for breast cancer survivors, which means that we're like a durable medical equipment company, and we deliver to their doorstep. But I didn't always refer to breast as breast or cancer as, some deep scientific term. Sometimes I just called them boobs. Right. And people got it. Right. So if that's in line with your brand, don't be afraid to use your brand's tonality in the deck and in the application stage.
Yeah. That's deep.
Yeah. Yeah, don't be afraid to do that. Next, I would always recommend responding openly and honestly in your applications, because you can expect that the judges are going to do something called diligence, a process called diligence, which means after you say all the things, they just want to make sure that what you said aligned with the facts and the truth. So be as honest and open as possible. If you don't know an answer, it's better to not lie or fib or exaggerate. It's better to just fill in with the truth. Or if you need a moment to reflect and come back to it, save your application and come back to it. But I recommend not making anything up in these applications.
So the last question I would say is, for pitch competitions, how prepared do you have to be as far as how far into your business should you be before you pitch in front of judges?
The best thing about pitch competitions is that you can typically be any stage, but you want to see, based on the guidelines, which competition is the best fit for your stage, because there's going to be competitions for every stage of business, from the idea stage, which means you have a great idea, it's on paper, you're not yet funded, you don't yet have what they call an MVP, a minimal viable product in the market, you're not yet generating revenue. There are some competitions for that stage. And there are some that are for companies that are making millions of dollars a year. You want to be able to sort through the competitions and apply for the ones that are in your lane, in your wheelhouse. The ones that I've won, the competitions that I've won, have been exactly where we were as a business. And the benefit is that the money came at the right time, and it was appropriate funding for where we were as a company. It wasn't too much money for us where we didn't know what to do with it, and it wasn't too little where it didn't help our business to make the next moves. So that's really important too. But I have a resource guide where you can sign up and get a free list of pitch competitions and grants, and you can sort it by the stage as well as the amount of capital that is awarded. So feel free to click the link. I'm sure we'll have it.
It'll be somewhere.
It'll be somewhere. Click the link somewhere.
Right.
For that resource. But it's really my goal to make sure that there are more women out here winning capital, non-dilutive capital especially. Non-dilutive capital means also that it's not in exchange for equity. So they're not going to take a part of your company in order for you to receive that check. And sometimes that can be what propels your business to go forward a bit further. So it's my personal goal to make sure women have access to capital in that way.